Good. Welcome, everyone. I'm Clyde, one of the Dharma leaders here. Take a moment to stretch for just a moment. We have at least 18 people online, about the same number of people here in the room. So that's great. That's our Sangha tonight. And tonight we're continuing our talk on the Sutta series, the Summer Sutta series. And we have one more next week, but tonight we're going to be, one thing we like to do in the Sutta series is not just the teaching of the Sutta, but how we go about working with the Sutta sometimes. And I can turn this on so maybe you can hear me. How about that? Oops, went the wrong way. Is that better? Now you can hear me. Okay, good. And so tonight, the way I found this sutta was I was reading another book it's on the Dharma or something like that, and it was by, I'm going to say the name wrong, Tijana Sayadaw, and he was talking about the 5 spiritual faculties. And y'all may think we know everything there is to know about the Dharma, but there's sometimes, we've been studying this for years, and I go like, I've heard about this, but I've never looked into what it was. What are they? I've heard about them, kind of skipped over them and stuff like this. So I want to go back and see what these are. What are the 5 spiritual faculties? And this book directed me to, it was describing them, and Samyutta Nikaya 4801 was what he directed me to. So, and this is in the Samyutta Nikaya is in the Connected Discourses, and so this is the Connected Discourses on the facilities, the faculties. So it's the 5 spiritual faculties. So I went to, but I started out with 4801. And this is what it says. And we're going to read some of these, so just kind of stick with me because it builds. And this was interesting to me because it's not just one paragraph, but it's the same thing over and over and over. And there the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Thus, bhikkhus, there are these 5 faculties. What 5? The faculty of faith, the faculty of energy, the faculty of mindfulness, the faculty of concentration, the faculty of wisdom. These are the 5 faculties. So those are the 5 faculties. Then it goes on. That's like the first paragraph in this sutta, and it goes on. It talks about stream enterers. It talks arahants, ascetics, and brahmins, and then it goes to. I kept going through it, and it's saying the same thing kind of over and over and over. And I said, well, those are 5 things, but what does it mean? Then it gets to one. This 4809 is analysis. And it says, what are the 5 faculties? And it goes back through those 5 faculties again. And then, but it explains them. It says, what is the faculty of faith? Here, bhikkhus, the noble disciple is a person of faith, one who places faith in the enlightenment of the Tathagata, that's the Buddha. Thus, the Blessed One is an arahant, perfectly enlightened, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, fortunate, knower of the world, unsurpassed, leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. So it's like the faith in the Buddha. And then he says, what is the faculty of energy? Here, because the noble disciple dwells with energy aroused for the abandoning of unwholesome states and the acquisition of the wholesome states. He is strong, firm in exertion, not shirking the responsibility of cultivating wholesome states. That's the faculty of energy. What is the faculty of mindfulness? The noble disciple, possessing some supreme mindfulness and discretion, one who remembers and recollects what is done and said long ago. This is the faculty of mindfulness. It's the faculty of concentration. Here, bhikkhus, that gains concentration, gains one pointedness of mind, having made release the object, That's the faculty of concentration. What's the faculty of wisdom? He possesses wisdom directed to arising and passing away, which is noble and penetrative, leading to the complete destruction of suffering. This is the faculty of wisdom. And we're going to keep going through these. We're going to go back, because then there's another section called analysis 2. This is the second. It gets even deeper into that. The first part of it, it repeats these are the 5 faculties, and then he gets into the faith one is the same as what it was in the other one. But when he gets into energy, he gets more, the sutta gets more and more, the rising of unarisen evil wholesome states, makes an effort to arouse the energy. What this is, he goes in, he talks about right effort. This describes right effort, which is the 6th step on the Noble Eightfold Path. Wholesome and unwholesome states arising. You want to cultivate the arising of unwholesome states, and you want to be aware of and get rid of unwholesome thoughts and states, mind states. Mindful, what is mindfulness? It says the same thing in the other piece, and it says he dwells contemplating the body in the body, feelings in the bodies, mind in mind, the phenomena. This is right mindfulness. This is the Satipatthana Sutta, right in here. What is the faculty of concentration? And in this one, he goes on into it and talks about the jhanas and getting into the jhanas, which is the 8th factor on the Noble Eightfold Path. What is the faculty of wisdom? And it goes on through the destruction of suffering. He understands as it really is. This is suffering. He understands as it really is. This is the origin of suffering. He understands that it really is. This is the cessation of suffering. He understands that it really is. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. This is the faculty of wisdom. What did that sound like? That's the 4 noble truths. That's what wisdom is the 4 noble truths. So this one, and in most sutras that we have to kind of like get into it. Let's simplify this a little bit. What is this saying? What does this mean? And if I can find it, I'll tell you. What this is talking about, it's talking about, let's look at, so we have energy, we have the first one is faith. And that could be called discernment. Just being able to, not discernment, it's just being the faith. It's not a blind faith, it's this faith. It could be a curiosity. When you first come to this, you're kind of curious about what does it mean? What's the Buddha saying? What's the practice? And what it is. But it's also a little bit, if you go back to it, it's a little bit about understanding the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, which is also in the Noble Eightfold Path is part of right intention. It's the mundane part of right intention, is this idea that this is how things work. If I do something from an unwholesome state, it's going to cause more suffering. And so this whole idea of cause and effect. The second one which is the idea here of energy, is just effort. Am I making effort? And that goes us back, am I spending time on my practice with effort? Am I adding effort? And that is the right effort in the Noble Eightfold Path. The next one is mindfulness. Mindfulness, just being aware of what's going on. We practice mindfulness here, just being mindful. The next one is this idea of concentration. And for me, concentration is not so much the jhanas as it is this idea of a continuous calmness, tranquility of mind. And when I'm in my meditation, can I be just calm and calm and tranquil in this? And this idea of continuous mindfulness in my meditation. And we're off the cushion, that has a little bit of equanimity in it also. Can I be balanced in that? And then the last one is wisdom, and that's the one that has to do with discernment. Can I see the way things are? And that really gets into, that is seeing the Four Noble Truths. So that's discernment, that's wisdom. So we have these five faculties that we're developing. Joseph Goldstein says, these faculties are most powerful when they are in balance. Faith needs to be balanced with wisdom, so that faith is not blind and wisdom is not shallow or hypocritical. Energy needs to be balanced with concentration. Effort will bring lucidity, clarity, and energy to the mind, which concentration balances with calmness and depth. And then mindfulness is the factor that balances all these and is therefore always beneficial. So we have some balancing, but we always need to have mindfulness. So we have these five spiritual factors, and these are developed all throughout our practice. If you're just starting out, you may not be aware of these or know what they are. But as you develop through these, you might want to think about your practice. What is your faith in this practice? What is it? How much effort are you putting in? How mindful are you? And then the idea of the wisdom. Are you beginning to see any wisdom? And so we're developing this over time. It's not all of a sudden we're wise, or all of a sudden we have mindfulness. We practice and we develop it over time. And the five, they're also called the controlling factors. What do they control? It says, this is from Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, when these five faculties are used to control their domain, that's just what we're doing ourselves. They're the five spiritual faculties. When they are unshakable by their opposing forces, they become the five strengths. So what are these? What does it control? Faith controls doubt. Energy controls laziness. Mindfulness controls heedlessness. This is not paying attention. Concentration controls distraction. Wisdom controls ignorance. And so what happens is, what they're saying is, as we develop this, he says, we develop the five faculties, we use the five powers. So these five spiritual faculties become our five spiritual, I like that word, strengths. Become our five spiritual strengths. The Buddha described it, he said, it's like someone's on an island, and there's this river that's flowing around the island. And if you're on the island, it's like, well, there's a river up here and there's a river down here. But if you're looking at it, it's the same water coming down and going around. And you may call one the five spiritual faculties. This one's the five spiritual strengths, but it's the same. These are the same faculties. So that's what we end up doing. We end up doing is, I like to think of them as five spiritual supports. Because as we go through this process, and that was one thing that was interesting to me, I thought these five faculties and things, you have all five of these. You are developing all five of these in your practice. As you practice, even if it's a little bit, you're here, you have faith, you just meditated, you had some mindfulness, you had some concentration, you put some energy into it by being here. So you're developing these as we go along. So as you progress through, as you practice, you can always kind of check in and see, all right, here's five things that I can look at and go, how am I doing on these? Am I developing these? Am I supporting these? Going back to Joseph Goldstein, he says, these are the qualities that bring power and balance to our minds and form an essential part of the path to freedom. Meditation is a process through which we develop these qualities so that they become strong and enduring forces touching every aspect of our lives. And it is true. I actually looked up what faculty meant, and it says it's an ability, natural or acquired, for a particular kind of action. So we say it's an ability that we're going to acquire, we're going to develop. And I thought about the action here is to be on the path, our practice. And I'll end up with some a note from, this is going back to the book that I was looking at. It says, that which is able to practice is concentration. That which is practicing is energy. That which happens is mindfulness. That which knows how to practice skillfully is wisdom. That which wants to practice is faith. Thank you for. So you might want to take just a moment. We do have some questions. We can have some time for questions or things, but take a moment and just reflect on your practice and these 5 spiritual faculties and how they are a part. Are they a part of your practice? Are they part of your lives? But use them as a support to, okay, how is my faith? My faith may be pretty strong. I believe this is making sense to me. Do I need to put in more effort? Wisdom is seeing suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering. And as we begin, does that become, and these are insights, as our insights begin to grow into this, that's wisdom. And wisdom is really the thing that we're trying to get to, is this idea of not being ignorant. Ignorant of what? Ignorant of the way things are. So always check back and see, how are your 5 spiritual faculties developing? And use them as a support or a guidepost in your practice.